Ladies and gentlemen, we have a guy here. He's an administrator of one of the Masters League here in Toronto. He's been an administrator. He has a lot of different names, right, as you would discover. Uh, he's very picky about how we address his function. And by now, I'll ask him to introduce himself and let us know from where he came.
Okay, so my name is Barry McCormack. Some people refer to me as Barry Ballard. I came from Jamaica to Canada in 1969.
In 69.
Yeah.
Okay. You came you came to Toronto.
I came to Toronto in 69, the summer of 69, July, I think. Bounced back and forth between Toronto and New York. My parents were in New York, living in New York at that time. And then eventually, in the fall of 1970, I kind of settled in Toronto. So I wasn't doing the frequent back and forth between New York and Toronto.
You get here in Toronto. What was the access to the soccer?
Actually, I never got into soccer in Toronto until the mid-70s. About Flemington Park. I played at Flemington Park the rest of the game.
Is that right? Who you played in Flemington Park?
I remember playing against players when you were running players.
What team you play with?
Pardon me?
What team did you play with in Flemington?
I don't know. We had three teams. We had Ebony, Dodgers, and Paragons. I can't remember which team first. But I know when we played Contrast League in 1980, it was with Paragons.
Okay. Now there's two Ebonies. There was the Ebony that came late. There was Ebony 11, which I think that's the one you're talking about. That's with Errol, you remember? I forget Errol's last name.
Toothpick?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one, yeah. Okay, yeah, that was one. We played with Errol and Nikki and Jean and I played with Clyde and
That's Dodgers.
Winty, the two brothers, Barry and what's his name?
Barry and Winty.
And Winty, yeah. We all played together down at Flemington Park. Robbie, Heidi.
So wait, saying that Winty and Barry play with Dodgers?
They never play with the team, but we play the league games on Sundays, but during the week we were all scrimmaging together.
All right, yes. That's right. And that's what somebody wanted to make note that on Flemo, it wasn't just a weekend thing, it was all week. You guys were at Flemo. All right. So Barry, you're at Flemington Park. When did you how long you stayed at Flemington Park?
Well, we were at Flemington Park I think probably mid-80s, because once the atmosphere started to change at Flemington Park, a bunch of us, the older guys, left and went to Churchill. And that's actually where the league developed. It's the same guys that came from Flemington Park that went to Churchill. We started playing at Churchill. Word got around that we're playing at Churchill, and then when the number of players got too huge, we decided to form the league, right?
Okay. One question before we leave Flemington totally. When you say the atmosphere started to change, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, cops started to show up, all that stuff. I don't remember that time. Tried to move. We just didn't like what was going on.
Yeah, I know it started to change, but I just want to make sure we all see the same changes, and we all see the same changes. Yeah, it did start to change. You're not lying about that. So okay, so you reached the Winston Churchill, and this is where you come in, Barry. This is where you became a big entity here in the soccer/football here in Toronto. When you went up to Churchill now, were you part of that organizing the league at that time, or you were just a team with the ballers?
Well, when we started out at Churchill, again, we were just scrimmaging, similar to what was happening on Flemington Park. And then an informal rivalry developed between the teams, right? We're all one big group. But in the evenings, you tend to play with the same set of guys all the time. A rivalry developed, and then we decided to form the league. So two teams came out of Churchill, Mello Strikers, and only the original guys would know that, Big Belly Ballers. That was the name of the team, Big Belly Barry Ballers.
I ain't sure most of those guys would want that name now,
I know. Then we dropped the Big Belly.
Yeah.
And then we dropped the Barry because it was too personal. I'm just playing with Bob.
So that Barry had to do with you?
That Barry was me. So when we separated into two teams, Mikey took one team, and I don't know how I ended up with the other team. I think Mikey said, let's call the other team Big Belly Barry Ballers, and boom, that was it.
So Barry, what you telling me here now, the foundation of the Mello League, which is the Caribbean Masters League now, started with Mello Strikers and Barry Ballers?
And Barry Ballers, yeah. That's where it all started, and then we invited. So we never played with the league. That's where everything started. But before we actually started playing as a league, we invited the other teams. We invited Magic, Caribbean Stars, and Roots. Those guys used to play with us at Churchill.
Okay. So when did you guys decide to get it seriously? Obviously, you form a committee first before you decide to get the league seriously. How did that evolve?
Well, we had a meeting at the shop, and then when initially we started out, we had a commissioner, a treasurer, and a secretary. So Don Parker was the commissioner, Linda was the treasurer, and I was the secretary.
No president?
No president. We never had a president. We had a commissioner. And Don Parker was commissioner from 1991 to about 1996. These are exact dates because I actually found some minutes. I was going through my files and I found some old minutes. So Parker was commissioner from 1991 to 1996. He got his job. He got a position in Jamaica, so he moved to Jamaica. And then Roy McCarthy assumed the commissioner role from 1997 to 1998. And then Roy had to move away from Toronto for job-related issues, I guess. And then Mello, which is Derek Melville, he did not want to be called commissioner. So he was referred to as the chairman. He was actually the chairman of the league until 2000 when he became president.
So he became president, he was the chairman and then president, is that it?
He was the chairman from 1999, for 1999 I think, and in 2000 he became the president. So the first time Mello Masters had a president was in the year 2000. Before that position was commissioner.
Perfect, Barry. You're giving me real, and the main idea you mentioned in minutes and stuff, that's serious stuff. So now, Melvin said he turned the league over to you.
Clarify that. The league was never run by one person. The league was always run by a committee that was made up of the 6 team managers. So every decision that was made was voted on by the 6 team managers.
And that's from day one?
That's from day one. 5 for the first year, the second year 6. All the team managers were part of a committee that actually ran the league. So every decision that was made was voted on and approved by all the team managers. Not always unanimously, of course, but the majority.
That's good. Okay. So now let's get the location, the logistics now. When Melvin took over, apparently he said he took over from Leacock. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by took over.
I'll assume the chairman position.
He assumed the chairman position in 1999. In 1999, yes, we were playing at Stephen Nika.
Correct. All right. We're connecting the dots here. So what caused you now assuming that type of responsibility after being around that long?
So remember, I was the secretary, so all the paperwork came through me. So when the league initially started, it was supposed to be a recreation league. You actually had a rule that said if you were currently registered in a competitive league, you were not eligible to play in Mello Masters League. The Mello was always a recreational league, right? So because I did all the paperwork, I noticed some discrepancies regarding age and stuff. So we started putting rules in. We came up with ID cards. Let me back up a little bit. Because the league was actually managed by all the team managers, some of the responsibilities were with the team managers. So the team managers were responsible for verifying the age and making sure anybody coming into the league met the age criteria and did not play in a competitive league. So when the paperwork started coming through to me, year after year, I noticed some discrepancies where the birth dates were always changing. So we introduced an ID card where everybody had to show us an ID once. We actually created an ID card, a picture ID card, and each player had a picture ID card.
Okay, when you say the birthdays keep changing, you're talking about for the same player?
For the same player, right?
Right,
so
okay.
they always changing so they would be 35 and under. But what was happening, guys were actually playing in the league before they turned 35.
What was the request for that? Did you have a disciplinary committee at that time, or the team leaders decide on that?
Well, team leaders decided on that, but I'm not sure if the team leaders were aware of it or they were part of it. But because all the paperwork, all the applications were coming through me as secretary, I noticed that. So eventually what happened, we put some controls in place. Everybody had to show a valid ID and provide a picture, because what else was happening, because you had to be registered to play in the league. You had to be registered by the Friday if you wanted to play on Sunday. I had to provide a listing of all the eligible players for each team. So each week, each team manager got a listing of all the players that were eligible to play.
Okay, so when you clear up this eligibility now, you were already secretary. So what position you assume beyond secretary, and you saying it came through all those discrepancies? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay, so again, let me back up a little. So because I was the secretary and all the paperwork, creating all the reports. So at some point, I think it's around maybe 1999, we combined the treasurer and the secretary role. So I became secretary treasurer. And then how I ended up being the face of the league, because I was actually the enforcer. So I was the one that was going around and saying, you cannot play, you need to pay up your dues, your team cannot play because you were in arrears. So I became, because I was that guy enforcing the rules, I ended up being the face of the league. I was the guy walking around, going to the team and saying, you can't do this or you cannot do that.
I remember you walking around.
And I guess I became the face of the league. I wasn't running the league. The league was still being run by the committee made up of all the team managers. All the decisions were made, all the rules were made, we went over all the rules. Every single year we went over the rules line by line. Everything was approved. But because I was the guy on the field enforcing the rules, I guess I became the face of the league. But I never really ran the league.
Hold on, Barry. We're talking about our community here now. I'm very much aware running Flemington Park or what it entails. So yes, you became the face of the league, but on a given Sunday, we're winning and losing. is paramount. Um, Somebody who, although you might be attached to ballers, somebody who's fair and straight up and go by the rules would always be the person stands out on game days.
I agree, but I was not really running the league. I was just enforcing the rules.
League runs on rules. So technically,
But I wasn't making the rules. I was just enforcing the
no,
rules.
you see your modesty now.
I was a cop.
Yeah. But I think the public would understand exactly what you were doing, because anybody who's familiar with leagues and running leagues, and not even just in our community, whether it be the Spanish league or anywhere, understand on game day, a lot of these leaders lose perspective and get caught up. And we have to thank people like you who stay focused, because the rules are really the only thing you can rely on. It's a very easy thing.
So the team leaders were concentrated more on their own team.
That's how it works.
So what would happen if there's an issue? The team leader will say, "Go talk to Barry. Go talk to Barry." Everybody's coming to me.
One thing I must say about the league, though, if it goes from Melvin to you to Nadia, I can see these people, you guys on game, they were very calm people enforcing the rules. So the rules are really your backbone. You don't have to fuss with people on the given day, because you know the rules, and after 3-4 games, you know all the deviation and all the shots that everybody tries anyway. So you did a job. You don't play a job. That's a very important job. So when you became the face of the league now, were you still, what position you had with Barry Ballers?
I was still the team manager for Ballers, but I had someone that was doing the day-to-day running of Ballers. So I was there, but I wasn't really running Ballers on game day. But I was still the team manager in the background. So I was the one that had the meetings, went over the rules and concerns. But I had an associate, Robert West. But you may know Robert. Robert played at Flemington Park for years. He's passed away now. But yeah, my primary role was really managing the league.
I want to ask you, it's a ticklish one, but it's something that the public needs to understand. When people have a team and assuming responsibility to run a league, what did Barry Ballers what type of success did Barry Ballers have?
We won the league in 2007, I think it was. And I think we won the knockout in 2004.
This for public consumption, because there is no an underlying perception, but it never worked. I see it in the Caribbean, you see it in Italy, all over. A lot of the people that run leagues are associated with a team, right? Even in the professional thing. So I want to make sure that I get the successes of Barry Ballers. And did it affect your running the league in any way?
No, I was actually extra hard on Ballers because I would say to my guys, listen, you guys have to set the example, because I can't be going to the other team and say, do this, do that, when Ballers are not doing it. So Ballers probably saw the worst of me.
Okay, so Barry, is Ballers still in the league in Caribbean Masters now?
When I left, they were there. They rebranded to Sporting Ballers, I think. But as far as I know, I'm not sure if... I know it's not being run by someone from the original Ballers, but I'm not sure if Ballers have a team right now. I know is there Sporting Ballers in the Caribbean League?
When you say when you left, did you leave the organization, the Ballers?
Not Ballers. When I left the league, I kind of left everything. I think my last year with the league was 2008, I think.
2008?
No, 2018. What am I talking about? I tell you, let me clear my head here. 2008 was my last year with the league and with Poland.
And what you did after that? Were you still around the league or?
2009, I was there for a while, and then I moved on. You see, what happened? The league became very competitive. No, this league was not supposed to be a competitive league. And what happened is that it stopped being fun for me. You know, our motto, having fun, keeping fit. I was not playing anymore, so I wasn't keeping fit. And then the fun went away. So I decided it was time to move on.
Okay, so you said it got too competitive, but prior to you winning in 2004 and stuff, obviously it was competitive to have a winner.
Yeah, there was competition there, you know, but it wasn't, the discipline never went away. The discipline never went away, and the old guys were still playing. Let me back up a little. So we started with 5 teams. The year after, we started in 1991 with 5 teams. 1992, we added a 16 with the West Indies United team. I think in 1997, we added 2 more teams, Upsetters and Cosmic. So Upsetters was run by Cecil, not Stephen, Cecil. But Upsetters was run by Cecil, and Cosmic was run by Bobby Two. The league changed there because what happened is that when Upsetters and Cosmic came into the league was, when they came in 1996. The league started in 1991. No, the league started in 1991. So that was 6 years after. When the league started, a lot of guys were in their mid-40s. So when Upsetters came in 6 years after with 34, 35-year-old guys, a lot of guys were in their late 40s, early 50s, right?
Yeah.
So we couldn't compete. So when Upsetters came in, they won the league 1997, 1998, 2000, 2001. They won both the knockouts in the league. So what happened, the other teams started to recruit younger players.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the competition started to creep in.
Well, to me, just like we were talking about running the league and affiliation and the leader, that's a normal progression, though. You know, what should have happened for you guys not to have a problem, because we all get older every year, and because the requirement stays the same, we getting older for that division, but the eligibility is there. We don't have a problem with eligibility. So that should have been something that the committee speaking about, you know, once you saw that, because in hindsight now, obviously you can call the years and where team joined and stuff. And maybe at that time you should have go to over 50 or something like that, or go back to the keeping fit and stuff for the over 60 or somebody else and allow the over 35 to play.
So what we did actually, we limited the number of under body players. I think you're only allowed to have a maximum of 5 under 40 players on the team in any one game, and that's what we did. But the whole culture changed, because remember the new players that were coming in, most of them were coming from playing competitive soccer. So they brought some of that competitiveness into the league, and as I said, the league wasn't intended to be a competitive league.
Yeah, Barry,
for old people.
while I do understand what you're saying, though, Barry, everything evolves. So when you're saying it doesn't, at the time at the time you formed the league, but everything evolves.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, when it got to that point, I decided, you know, I wanted to play soccer, right? I mean, I didn't want to run a league. The goal was so I could go there and run and play soccer. I enjoyed hanging out with the guys, so I stuck around. But the fun went away, and I decided to go.
That's fair. But do you go and watch the league now, or
I'm back playing a little scrimmage on Sundays, and after my scrimmage game, then I go down to Thompson Park. You can never find parking, so I went a couple of times, but it was a hassle. The parking was a hassle, so I haven't been back there for a while.
okay?
We do scrimmage every Sunday. A lot of old guys from the league actually scrimmage across the street. What's the field beside the golf club?
Yeah, but do you want to publicly reveal that location or keep it under wraps?
I think it's public. We're thinking about leaving it. I think it's public, and everybody's showing up there now. Because there was no league last year, everybody showed up.
You get your sweat, which is back to the same mantra or motto from the original league. You have to stay ahead. You can't let evolution, you're not catering for the evolution of how things and how people react. So maybe don't make that competitive. Just make it a scrimmage. You play other teams, no points or whatever, on a friendly basis.
It's a scrimmage, but I don't know if it's our culture or not, but this informal, what word I'm looking for?
Competitiveness
always seems to creep in. The same set of guys want to play together every week, and what happened, that's where it comes in.
But that's a good thing, though, because you push yourself to get fitter, because Barry, it's the same tools you got to use whether you're playing at 60 or 30 or 20, right? And it's still good to know how rusty the tools are. The only other thing, is it different teams playing or just a bunch of guys?
Just a bunch of guys, but it's the same set of guys tend to want to play together every week, right? So it's an informal team. There's no name or anything, but the same bunch of guys. And, and I see where now everybody want to wear the same color shirt before we're just out there playing. But as you said, it evolves, and when it gets to the point where it's no fun anymore for me, I just move on.
That's right, but
fun and scrimmage.
Yeah, but Barry,
or have someone calling me names or.
But Barry, you are an organizer. You are an organizer. How many years you administrate in the league, whether it be secretary, treasurer? You became what, president? When you reached.
I was never president. I was always secretary, treasurer, even to the day when I left.
So when you took over from Melvin, so let's make this part official. When you took over from Melvin, you said Melvin was the president.
I'm not sure what you mean by take over, though. I never really took over from anybody.
Okay, when you assumed the leadership role in the league from Melvin, because Melvin said he can't remember you being president, but Melvin was the president. He was chairman, and then he was president. You said, right?
I started as secretary, and then I became secretary, treasurer, and that was it.
But then you start doing
the face of the league just because I was enforcing the rules, and I was the person you would see on the field.
Barry, is this safe to go with this in documentation that when you ran the league?
I don't like the term when I ran the league. I did not run the league.
Okay.
It depends what you mean by running the league.
Okay, hold on.
It was still run by.
Your modesty is killing things, because
Made up of all the team managers.
I can't use takeover. You don't want me to use run, right? So when you assume, I understand the 16, but you already explained it to the public that although the rules were in place and you were the face of the league on game day enforcing the rules, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, but I wouldn't consider running the league. It
You
depends on how you define running.
so
What do you mean by running the league?
well, normally we assume running the league, kind of literally speaking, running the league means that somebody on game day who can stop operation or could stop players from playing. That's the person that runs that day event.
Okay,
Who's in charge? You're the person in charge.
Mello never had that
Yes. Let me ask one. Let me make it clear then. When Derek Melvin left, Mello left, or give up or however you or whatever it is, when he wasn't functioning in the capacity he was before previously,
Right.
and who assumed what he was doing?
Okay. All happened to Mello is that his title changed. It changed from chairman to president.
And when he was not president anymore, what happened?
He changed, well, short brief, I think, he didn't want to be president anymore. This is what let me think back there. I think 2000, about 2000, Mello became president. About 2000 to 2005, if I remember correctly. Then he didn't want to be called president anymore. And then he got rebranded to Public Relations Discipline Officer. So in 2000, we kind of changed the format a little. We had a president, we had a discipline officer, and we rotated positions from each team. That's what happened. So every year we had representatives from two teams, and that the league was governed by what we call a committee. You had the president, the administrator, which was Nadia, and then we had a rep from two teams every year, and those two positions rotated every year. So every year we had rep from two different teams.
Now, I understand where you're coming from. Once you bring Nadia in the equation, it means that you will continue doing the function that you were doing before, with Nadia being in the administrator position, as she said, right, in her interview, and you kind of enforcing, but she also was kind of enforcing with you. That's what I'm saying. You can be running in parallel enforcing with Nadia. It looked like both of you guys had different reign enforcing the rules on game day.
Yeah, so when Nadia joined, Nadia was more concerned with planning the events, the fundraising events, the meet and greet. She introduced the meet and greet, which was great. And I was still doing the on the field walking around. So when I left, Nadia assumed that on the field, running the league as you would.
Yeah, I remember what exact what year that is.
Nadia started in 2000, and I left in my last year was 2008.
So what you were doing when you're running in parallel, you were still doing the secretary treasurer running in parallel?
I was still providing the report, looking after the registration, make sure people were following the rules, telling the teams who can play and who couldn't play, because I was not a very popular person, you know. I was very respected, but that was because you're in arrears and teams would sit there and forfeit the game until I had to pay the referee.
I was there for a few years, and I didn't see you being upset or anything. I didn't see any altercation. I didn't see any argument by the field once you were involved.
Yeah, and as I say, I was respected. I wasn't liked a lot, but I was respected. Nobody disrespected me. But,
Okay.
you know, I was a bearer of bad news. I would be walking just even if it was bad here.
Yeah, that's the image, yeah. I can see that. Now, I'm asking now, seeing that you see the evolution, the age thing, it getting competitive, too competitive for you, being part of Fleminel and stuff, what would you say if somebody wanted to form a league and what they could or should look for?
I don't know. Looking back, what we should have done, I mean, I just said, we should have kept the older league older. We should have maybe had a two-tier league, you know, 40 and over, and maybe 35 to 40, or we should have kept the old guys together, because the old guys wanted to play. That was the whole purpose of having the league, for people who still wanted to play the game because they love the game. They didn't want to play competitive ball. Couldn't make a competitive team. or I'm just wanting to play for fun. That was the purpose of the league. So we should have kept that part and then maybe run another league in parallel for the younger players.
But you know, the league's doing very well now. I mean, in terms of the competitive, I've been down there covering a few of the games and stuff. It's very competitive. So that's why I keep asking them if there's a challenge. There's a big challenge with you see, they're in an environment where the discipline committee is going to always be challenged because you just said it again. And anybody who come in to support the league feels it. The parking, before you even get to watching the game, you're always on the brink of something unpleasant based on either bad parking space, about person taking up 2 spots. The atmosphere is nice, but you know, we could see the enforcement of the rules more than ever than in League Cup because they're younger guys, you know, and you know what goes with that. We know what goes with that.
Different generation, and they look at things a little differently from us. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, that's career master. But what I want to reiterate is that Mello Masters was not supposed to be a competitive league. When we formed Mello Masters, there were quite a few competitive leagues out there. But if you want to play competitive soccer, we suggested you go join one of the leagues that were already out there. Mello Masters was for guys who just wanted to play the game for fun, and that was it, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Having fun, keeping fit. So when that part went away, the league changed, right?
You ever part of the Malvern League?
I'm a part of Malvern.
So how you look at the Flemo to seeing that you said the atmosphere changed at Flemington Park, and you obviously from how you're reinforcing the fact that you just went to have fun at a certain age, how you look at the Mellow League to how would you wrap up the 2 leagues from obviously you were younger, the Flemo or whatever, how you look at the 2 leagues?
You know, Flemo was competitive, but it was not competitive at any cost. You know, it was competitive, yes, but you know, it was not win at all costs. I just played the league. I wasn't part of running the league, so I'm not sure what the challenges were at that end. I know when you were part of running the Flemo League, so you'd have a better understanding than I would. But I enjoyed playing the Flemo League.
You talk with Dodgers, Richard, Dodgers and stuff. I remember, you know, yeah, with Clydie, that was Clydie and Tony.
Tony, right? Yeah, you remember Big Tony, goalkeeper Tony?
Yes.
Yeah, that would throw the ball from one side of the field to the other.
Yeah, McNichol, yeah.
All right. So, Clyde, Robbie, Hackett, Winty. I remember Gally, what's his name, Cummins?
Yeah.
Used to come and play with us. Curtis Bell used to play with us. Actually, we were playing at the field that was closer to Donald's Road. That was before they made the fields into mini fields on the side.
Yeah, and they changed it back to big fields.
Right?
Yeah.
So, those were fun days, but you're right. I was younger then. I mean, we had a lot of, even the Mello Masters League, a lot of the younger kids, I would say kids, a lot of the new players coming into the league, they would sit on the sidelines and they, I can't wait to get into this league, I'm going to mash up this league. But when they started playing, they were surprised at the quality of the football that was being played.
Yeah.
We had a lot of good soccer players in the Mello Masters League. A lot of them represented their country, they represented their clubs. We had quite a few good players. League Cup was the best venue. I enjoyed being at League Cup. We had a lot of support from the community at League Cup. And it was like, I don't know how to explain it. I think League Cup suited us the best. And too bad we lost it because, again, lack of discipline.
Yeah, because once you start going to Vanier and these places, you're more restrictive. League Cup had a little more leeway on that. And then going to a public place. I remember one final played at Parkway Forest late in the season.
I mean, there are times when we couldn't get the permit because, in the fall, the football guys
yes
started to play and they had permits. So A few times we had to play the knockout at a different venue from where we played the actual league, right?
Right. So Barry, anything we didn't cover?
I just sent you a picture of me when I was here, and I went as the founding fathers. If you check your email, you see a picture of all the founding fathers. You see Mikey, you see Mello, Don Parker, who was the original commissioner, may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Myself, Arthur Kerr, Bugs, and Lindell, who was the original treasurer.
I want to thank you for giving me this time, man.
Continue doing what you're doing. You know, it's a good idea. And I've been following the interviews. I go on YouTube, I take a peek, I get a link, and I go on YouTube, and I'll follow the interviews. Very interesting, you know.
Okay, Barry. So thanks again.
No problem.
All right.